Now, hi everyone, it's Anne-Marie O'Kane here from the Border People Project. As you might already know, we aim to gather up some information that we think will be useful to people who live in the island of Ireland, especially those people who cross the border regularly, our cross-border workers, our shoppers, our students, and many of those cross the border very regularly, and some people get in touch with us with requests for information about returning home to the island. They've been away for quite a while. And they want to come home to the island of Ireland, north or south. Now, depending on their situation, it can be straightforward for some people, but for others it can be complex and they might need some special guidance. I have Danielle McLaughlin with me here today, and she's going to tell us about Crosscare's Migrant project and the support that it can bring to people who are returning home. So, hello, welcome, thanks for joining us. Danielle, over to you.
Hello, Anne-Marie, thanks for having me. It's great to talk to you, Border People, and to connect with Crosscare Migrant Project. So Crosscare Migrant Project is an organisation based in Dublin, part of the Archdiocese social agency, and we're part of a large organisation of Crosscare. And the Crosscare Migrant Project is specifically supported by the Immigrant Support Programme under the Department of Foreign Affairs, and we provide information and support for Irish citizens who are making plans to either emigrate from Ireland or return to Ireland. And so we provide information and support on how to move abroad, looking at a range of visas and appropriate advice and information. And then we look at supporting people on return to Ireland and what supports are available, so access to housing, social welfare, health, etc. And you can find all the information that we provide on our website, migrantproject.ie. And we have some social media accounts you can follow: Facebook, Twitter, and we're now on Instagram. We have one dedicated information and advocacy officer whose job is to provide direct support and information to individuals and families who are returning to Ireland and may need some practical advocacy support, particularly for people who are in vulnerable circumstances who might lack other supports. We also conduct research and collate research, and this informs our own service and also our policy work. We produce some reports and submissions that will advocate for positive policy change to support returning Irish citizens in particular who might experience difficulties on their return and access to the supports. Myself, in my role, I'm the Irish Abroad Networking Officer, and this involves networking with Irish support organisations across the world, and these groups are also supported by the Immigrant Support Organisation, or the Immigrant Support Programme, through the Department of Foreign Affairs, and so I work towards encouraging engagement and shared knowledge and collaboration. And I offer some support where I can in terms of developing some resources and tools and engagement. And a lot of our sessions and information sessions on returning to Ireland have moved online to online webinars rather than in person recently. And I work on developing a lot of the content for our online resources and our social media. Yep.
So you're a busy woman. We would find that social security payments, they frequently complicate things whenever people are moving between the jurisdictions. Even here in Northern Ireland, if somebody's returning from Britain, we have two separate social security systems, and we frequently need to signpost people out to maybe the like of the local community advice organisations to seek advice. But that's even within the UK jurisdictions. What if people are returning home to the island, maybe from Britain to the Republic of Ireland, or even from further afield into the Republic of Ireland? Is social security entitlement straightforward for them?
Yeah, it can seem complicated for people. We do get a lot of queries about that. We do have two separate social security systems between Britain and Ireland. So we do get a lot of questions about that, and it can vary between people because it can depend on how prepared you are, basically, and the documents that you have on your return, and your social insurance contributions in certain cases. We are a part of the common travel area, so there is some comfort in knowing that our current rights are still shared, and they're held once Britain leaves the EU as well. So we have a convention on social security between Ireland and the UK. So all our current rights and entitlements will remain, and you can still apply for social welfare payment on your return to Ireland from the UK, as long as you satisfy the habitual residence condition. So you need to be aware of what documents you might need to kind of satisfy that condition. So this is basically setting out that you have decided to return long term to Ireland, and that Ireland is your new home. So there are a lot of details that can go into that, but just to give you an idea of it, the deciding officer in the Department of Social Protection in Ireland and the Republic will decide on 5 factors. That will be the length and continuity of your residence in Ireland, the length and purpose of any absence from Ireland, the nature and pattern of employment, and your main centre of interest, and then lastly your future intentions to stay in Ireland. So this applies to both Irish and non-Irish citizens applying for social welfare, and we always advise it's important to start looking at gathering your supporting documentation before you move, and if you're cancelling any benefits, or if you're unable to transfer them to Ireland, to gather kind of proof that you've cancelled these benefits. Another example would be a one-way ticket back to Ireland, that ticket. So you can find a lot more information about that on our website, and if you need any more details, get in touch.
Okay, doc. And then aside from returning and immediately needing social welfare benefits, of course, and that typically is the case, many people are hoping not to stay on them as well, and they are returning home maybe to seek work. What about supports for them? Is that straightforward?
It can be, and when people are looking for work on return to Ireland, they'll want to take a few steps to kind of make sure that they're organised and that they can access an unemployment payment in the interim while they're looking for work. What the first most important step we would always look at is making sure that someone has a PPS and they've access to that. Some people who might have been away for a long time either don't have one or they can't find it. In that case, you can get in touch with the Client Identity Services that operates and releases the PPS numbers to find your old PPS. Just give them some details, and if you don't have one and you want to register for one, you can get a unique reference from the public services in Ireland. So you can register online. We now have an online system for registering for some of the payments, not all of the payments in the social welfare system. So you need to register with MyGov ID with your email address and make an appointment. And then once you're in Ireland, and on the day of your appointment, you'll need to provide evidence of your identity and your residence in Ireland, as well as the evidence for why you need a PPS number. And often this is a stickler for people, but if you're applying for social welfare payment, that's evidence. So you have an application form. But we have, again, all those steps laid out on our website. So there's plenty of information there. And again, you can get in touch with us. But when you have your PPS and you're ready to apply for your unemployment payment, then it's important to check that if you're already on a payment in the UK or in Britain, to inform the Department of Work and Pensions, so that they can arrange to stop your payment, and that you can qualify then for a payment in Ireland. If possible, you should make this request 8 weeks in advance of your return to Ireland. So this is why it's really key and important to get out the information there if you make a decision that you do plan ahead. Because there can be often a confusion as well, Anne-Marie, between job seekers benefit and job seekers allowance, and a confusion around what the general rules are and how you qualify for them. But the general rule is the minimum amount of Irish social insurance contributions, usually made within the last 2 years, will be required to apply for the benefit, the job seekers benefit. But you can also combine your social insurance contributions earned in Britain to your social insurance contributions in Ireland. And you can provide, as long as your PRS contributions was in Ireland. But if your assessed then is not satisfying the required amount of contributions, then you will be assessed for the job seekers allowance, and this is not determined on your contributions. So this is where the confusion comes in. And for this, you'll just be assessed based on your means, and also you'll be tested for habitual residence condition as well.
Okay, there's loads of information in that. And I know that these are the kind of questions that people will frequently ask us whenever they approach the project. I'm thinking of returning home, where do I start? And I suppose one of the main things we would frequently say, if you're on a benefit, try and take it with you when you return home, even if it's for a short time. But that's a great introduction to the project, and it's really good to know you're there. We'll keep signposting people in your direction. And we'll make sure that I think we had taken a screenshot of your website, because we know that we can find more information on the website, isn't that right?
Yes, everything we have is online. We keep it updated, and again, the social media accounts, Twitter is I am my Irish Migrants, and Facebook, and now we're on Instagram. So follow for updates, because things have been changing quite regularly during this pandemic, and a lot of things have moved online, and the system is getting a bit more open to managing applications and that through online and electronically, which is great, and it does help some people in difficult circumstances. Again, there's delays, so people have to be prepared that there can be weeks delays in getting access to anything, so this is why all this preparation work is so important.
Absolutely. That's brilliant. I'll make sure that we have links to your website up on the Border People Project website, so that's I think of another screenshot there maybe. That's our website, so it's borderpeople.info. So we'll put links up there, and we'll share them in the notes with this podcast when we get it up onto YouTube. Danielle, thanks so much for joining me today. That was brilliant. It was really good to hear about your project. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, and likewise, we'll be posting about yourselves, and we're really happy that people who are returning to Ireland are getting this information also, and can be directed to yourselves for returning to the north.
That's great. Good on you. Thanks a million. Thanks everyone.
Thank you. Bye bye.